You have 6 minutes.
And I'd like to welcome Minister Stanton to the House, and I'm delighted to express my support and the support of the Labour senators for this bill. And I listened with well, with not exactly surprise to the previous speaker, but I was disappointed, I suppose, that so much of Senator Mullin's input was devoted to saying what a waste of time this all was. The waste of time was the introduction in 2009 by then Minister Dermot Ahern of a new statutory offence of blasphemy. And that was the waste of time, which I certainly at the time, as indeed Senator Norris did too, we certainly opposed it. We argued that it was pointless to introduce this. We argued at that point for removal of the constitutional offence. In my view, the referendum was a necessary referendum to tidy up what is our foundational legal document in the state. So it does matter. Senator, I think you'd agree with that, what the text of the Constitution does matter. So it was very important that we, having gone through all the consultations we've gone through, and Senator Sullivan and others have spoken about this, that we then moved to have the referendum, and this legislation is necessary then to give effect to the desire of the people who voted by 64.85%, if I may, to remove the offence of blasphemy. I was also, I must say, involved as one of the political representatives on the Constitutional Convention, which also recommended the removal of the offence of blasphemy in 2013. So it should never have been in the Constitution. It should certainly never have been enacted into statutory format in 2009. And this is a long overdue measure to give effect to the will of the people on this issue. I don't think anyone in this House is anti-religion. I'm certainly not. I believe very strongly in the need to ensure freedom of religious belief, as with freedom of expression. That's important in any modern pluralist state. And I spoke very recently on this at an event with Archbishop Eamon Martin. We had somewhat of a disagreement on the role of religion in the public sphere, in that he certainly seemed to suggest that politicians should be beholden in some way to religious institutions in bringing forward political views, and I spoke very strongly in support of the separation of church and state, because that enshrines religious freedom for individuals. If we start to give a dominant position to one religion in our laws or in our foundational documents, clearly that is at the expense of anyone of any other religion or anyone of no religion, and that's a very dangerous position to be in. It's the sort of position we see in theocracies around the world. So I think that's an important point. And I should say also, in terms of what tangible effect does the text of a constitutional document or the existence of a statutory offence of blasphemy have? Well, I've just come from a really excellent symposium in Trinity this morning on diversity and inclusion in the workplace that we ran with the Law School of Trinity in conjunction with Matheson lawyers. And we heard very powerful and poignant testimony from individuals who've come out as LGBTQ, including one woman who was the first person in Ireland to make a workplace transition, gender transition. We heard very poignant testimonies about the chilling effect that laws had, that were discriminatory against LGBT people had upon them and upon the conditions in their workplace, and how proud they are of an Irish society that is now so much more inclusive, but how conscious they are. One woman in particular speaking, very senior executive, speaking about how proud she is of being able to live openly as a gay woman in Ireland, but how fearful she was on a recent holiday to a country which didn't enshrine the same freedoms for gay people in law. So we have to remember the tangible effect that laws can have, even if no prosecutions are brought. The existence of laws on the statute book have a chilling effect. And on Culture Night, Minister, your department organised an excellent exhibition, I was delighted to go into it, on Stephen's Green, on the history of censorship in Ireland. And again, you know, what impact do censorship laws have? Well, for a long time, they had a very chilling effect on freedom of expression in this country, not just for the authors whose books were banned, but for anyone who sought to speak about sexuality or about women's sexual expression, about reproductive rights in this country. So laws have a chilling effect. It doesn't need prosecutions or convictions to feel that chill, and no one knows that better than my dear friend and colleague Senator Norris, who's so brave for so long on standing up against laws that were discriminatory and that had that chilling effect. So anyway, I did want to put that on the record. I do want to say, as I said previously about this referendum, the referendum of last year, 26th October, that the continued presence of the offence of blasphemy in the Constitution was not tenable in a modern democratic state, that blasphemy itself, anyone who looks at the history will know it's a medieval crime, it's no place in the Constitution or Statute Book of a modern republic. The change, as others have said, was one that was recommended for a long time, back in 1991 by the Law Reform Commission, the Expert Constitution Review Group in 1996, and then in 2013 our Constitutional Convention. Indeed, my only regret about the referendum is that we didn't also delete the other similarly anachronistic offences referred to in Article 40.6.11 of the Constitution, those relating to seditious or indecent matter. And if I may say so, Minister, that's my only quibble. I put this on the record when we were debating the referendum bill, and it's my only quibble with the referendum is that I think we should have taken the opportunity to delete those other references, which are also there in the article, that, a constitution is no place, actually, and I speak as a criminal lawyer, the Constitution is no place to declare acts to be criminal offences. That's a matter for statute, it's a matter for legislators, and those anachronisms really should be deleted also. So, and again, text matters. They may not be in use, they may not be prosecuted on a daily basis or anything like that, but they shouldn't be there in our Constitution, just as the references to women's place in the home should no longer be there. And I know you're aware of that also, Minister. So just to say, 3 crucial reasons to welcome this legislation. First, it's outdated, and I've already explained that, the origins of blasphemy, and anyone who looks at the history of the use of blasphemy offences will be aware of that. And particularly when we have a republic that is, as it should be, premised on a separation of church and state. We have a long history and shameful history of collusion between church and state authorities, which have manifested in the oppression of women and children from disadvantaged backgrounds, notably in industrial schools and in Magdalene institutions and so forth. And again, as we've seen in our recent votes, not just on the blasphemy referendum, but on marriage equality and on repeal of the 8th Amendment last year, we have thankfully moved out of that area, or are moving out of it, but we still see dominant position for religious instruction in our schooling system. And again, today I was proud to support Education Equality, who are seeking the moving of religious instruction to at least the end of the school day in our school system, so that children of minority faiths or of no faith do not feel discriminated against within the school day. And that's an ongoing issue, where we see 90% of our primary schools still under the patronage of different religions, and predominantly under Catholic patronage. So that's an ongoing issue. So we haven't moved fully out of an era where, in my view, we have undue breaches of the doctrine of separation of church and state. Secondly, the blasphemy offence is not only outdated, but it's unnecessary. It's an undue encroachment on free speech. And again, others have spoken about this growing recognition that blasphemy is an obsolete offence across Europe. But thirdly, and very importantly, and I'll finish on this point, Chair, I know others have trespassed on their time, and I won't do so.
That's why I'm being lenient with your
blasphemy. Thank you, Chair. I'm indebted to you. Blasphemy law is dangerous, and again, others have spoken about this, that the constitutional blasphemy, the continued existence of not only a constitutional but a statutory offence since 2009 here has been used in other jurisdictions, where we've seen people of minority faiths, particularly those who are Christians in fact, being oppressed, being abused, suffering terrible physical danger as a result of the continued existence of blasphemy laws, and regard being had to our legal system as a sort of justification. So others again have spoken about that. It was another key reason why I spoke strongly against that change in 2009 by Minister Éireann, and why, again, I'm so glad to see us finally repealing sections 36 and 37 of the Defamation Act in this important legislation, and to see us giving effect to the very important vote of the people by over 2/3 last October to delete this anachronistic, outdated, medieval and dangerous offence from our constitution.
Thank you.